when it comes to younger people that are trying to get into the business, the number one thing that they can do is invest in their education. And I would say that don't go out and spend, $10,000, $20,000 with some guru or some mastermind. Spend $10 or $20 and buy a book or buy an audiobook and listen to that thing and listen to it again and take notes on it and actually digest the information that you get. Grant Cardone or Robert Kiyosaki, those are some good books to start with. There's a lot of other people that have written down all their best ideas. They put it into a book, and then they actually talk to a microphone and talk to you as a person. And that's the number one thing you can do is start working on. If you want to do real estate, the first part of real estate you must develop is in between your ears. You have to develop your mindset.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, active in flips, renovations, rentals, is involved as a direct lender, and is also the author of a book, Pray and Prosper. Please welcome Josh Darville. Josh, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure to be able to communicate and talk with other investors and, share some of the interesting life of being a real estate investor. Absolutely.
I'm actually a big fan, Josh, of the Carolinas because of this show. It wasn't something that I had thought much about. I'm a Texas licensed realtor. I actually live outside of the country. I've never lived in the Carolinas, but I've had so many people tell me that it's not just a great place for real estate investing, but it's a great place for family as well.
Yeah, so there's a couple of interesting things about the Carolinas. They're too far north for all the hurricanes, and they're too far south for the really, really hard freezes. I used to live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or New York.
Yeah.
And when you have a property that you're buying, you really got to understand the seasons and the temperatures, because water in real estate is one of the biggest enemies you'll have. And if a pipe bursts in your house that you just bought and you thought the power was turned on or you thought the heater was working, it can become a nightmare. So I think that's partly why a lot of people like Raleigh as far as investing goes, because it extends the season. And there is a season to real estate. A lot of people don't really understand that. So if you buy a house, you want to make sure that you're going to be taking it to market in the right sales cycle of your area. So for schools and different things like that, people tend to move in the summer, move before school changes. Also for renovating, there's seasons where it's the rainy season, and if you buy a house that needs a roof, well, you can really screw up if you put it in the wrong season. So there's something else to think about.
I want to ask you really at the top of the show here about how you got into the real estate space.
Yeah, like so many other investors, he started while I was in the military. And my father actually sent me a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in high school, I was a CB student, never really found passion I was into, but sitting at a desk, where you're basically on duty and you had nothing else to do really. And I was reading this book. I probably read that in 2 days, and it changed the way I thought. And from there, I started thinking, oh, well, I need to understand how I buy assets. What is an asset? What is this magical thing that pays me? Assets feed me, liability feed me. What does it mean? And so we started kind of going down that road of exploring different avenues of what.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Assets could look like. And so actually I worked at a seminar company for a while, and it looked about stock market investing and puts, calls, short stocks. Started learning about entity structuring. So, for example, I have a trust. My trust owns different LLCs, and then from there we have different properties or investments in that. So, really, kind of just started down the rabbit hole back in I'd say 2000, basically. Today is 9/11. I got out of the military before 9/11 happened, so I was no longer in the military at that time. And at that point, I was, into learning everything I could about investing, and for a seminar company that's currently no longer in business, like so many are.
I wanna ask you about the growth path in the real estate space. I mean, if you compare even real estate markets from 5 years ago, some of the same strategies won't work. So when you're talking about 25 years ago, right, it's a completely different ball game. But for someone to be active for as long as you've been active for, you would have had to have made some pivots. You would have had to weather some ups and some downs. Walk us through a little bit of that.
Sure. Yeah. So the market cycles are different, right? And even buying a house for cash flow these days, it just doesn't really work as well, doing what we call value add, with the rates kind of being higher and the cost of things. The average house in America is now $500,000. So when you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you got to kind of go back in time to where that's at. Investing nowadays, I would say, has changed a lot, because you have to be more savvy and understand that you're looking for asymmetric risk, where your upside is there, but you're very much limiting your downside. And so that's why wholesaling has become so popular. For me, I started out with, I need to learn as much as I can. So I worked at a bank and was a loan officer, an unlicensed mortgage professional. Then I got my license as a mortgage broker. The mortgage industry tanked, and I did a few other jobs in between there. And then I got my license as a real estate agent and then a real estate broker. And then I let that go and went full on real estate investor. So I think that's been kind of my progress, was a lot of learning and reading. I've read probably about 200 books. I've written Pray and Prosper, which is right there. You can find it on Amazon. And I also wrote another book that I recently released called Guru or Gangster. And that just talks about how I would go out and actually find people that I'm wanting to learn from. I really, truly had the desire to learn the information and figure out how they're doing what they're doing, and did it actually work. And what I found was a lot of people that are educating don't actually do what they say. And so, and I like a lot of Dave Ramsey, for example, but he didn't make his money necessarily doing what he says. He's got a media empire. And so when he says things like, I could go buy an entire apartment complex, but they wouldn't rent from me because I have bad credit, there's a little bit of a disconnect. And so I've met Dave Ramsey. I like him personally. There's some of his advice that just doesn't apply to today. And a lot of it still does, but there's some of the basics. But as you get complicated in your investing strategy, then you have to understand how to use and pull these different levers, which, put money in your pocket.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I think one of the things that is very tricky about that is, from my personal experience, when you are bootstrapping to save up for a down payment. Let's say you don't get down payment. I'm a realtor in Texas, so there's lots of down payment assistance in many different cities, areas, so potentially you could come with very little down to buy your first home. But let's say you didn't get that and you're bootstrapping and you're trying to save up tens of thousands of dollars potentially. And when the advice is don't take out any debt, right? Buy a cash car. Don't drink Starbucks. Any one thing at that point, like any one thing could reset you to several months, if not a year back. Let's say you have a medical issue. It's not covered by insurance. Now you've got to get an MRI or multiple MRIs. Or let's say, for instance, that, hey, you'd like to do something to I don't know, enjoy or celebrate a little bit, and it's going to cost several $100s. So are we now saying that we're not going to, celebrate at all for any length of time? And I think in listening to a lot of that type of advice, one of the things that was very apparent to me is you have to buckle down to such an extent that nothing bad can happen. You have to buy some cash car that won't have very many issues. To me, it's almost impossible. I know there will be lots of people who say that it is possible, but as a younger guy, seeing where the cost of everything is, unless you're living with family, I don't see how it's entirely realistic.
Sure. Yeah. So to kind of continue down that path, a lot of times I would say if you listen to Dave Ramsey, who says just take little bits of money and keep putting it into the stock market, let's say, or some kind of, low risk, low growth, for young people, the biggest return on investment you could possibly make. And this is the best advice I can give to, and I say young people, I'm 45. So we're going to talk about anyone that's, younger than me. But the thing I would do right now is I would invest in your education. And I wrote the book Guru or Gangster. It's on Amazon.com. The number one thing I would say is read books. And I found that for me, I'm not necessarily somebody that's going to sit there and read the book. I like audiobooks. Whenever I found that, I flipped the switch and I started being a ferocious reader.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
When it comes to younger people that are trying to get into the business, the number one thing that they can do is invest in their education. And I would say that don't go out and spend, $10,000, $20,000 with some guru or some mastermind. Spend $10 or $20 and buy a book or buy an audiobook and listen to that thing and listen to it again and take notes on it and actually digest the information that you get. Grant Cardone or Robert Kiyosaki, those are some good books to start with. There's a lot of other people that have written down all their best ideas. They put it into a book, and then they actually talk to a microphone and talk to you as a person. And that's the number one thing you can do, is start working on, if you want to do real estate, the first part of real estate you must develop is in between your ears. You have to develop your mindset. So
100%.
that's the number one thing that you got to work on. Also understanding that partying and drinking and going out and, chasing pleasure isn't the thing that you need to do as a younger person. That you want pleasure chasing you. The party should come in and after you, trying to get you to these things. But when you are a bit younger, you want to chase your potential. You want to read, develop your mind, work out, network by going to the gym, sitting in the sauna for a bit, and talk to those older guys that are sitting there, hanging out. And you can figure out so much from, buying guys a coffee. Now, certain people, if you say, "Can I buy you a coffee?" they get asked that all the time, and they're not as accessible because they have to really put a guard up, because everybody wants to buy them a coffee and pick their brain, right? So then at some point you have to kind of pay for attention, and you do that in two ways. One, you can actually work for them, where you get to help them and therefore they will help you. It's a reciprocal relationship. Another way is you pay them for their time through joining a mastermind or something like that. However, again, I will tell you that you can learn a whole lot by going out with different real estate agents and looking at properties. And you just say, "Hey, I'm new. I want to look at property. I don't want to waste your time. I'll buy you lunch, whatever." But real estate agents, especially new real estate agents, those are the people whose time value is extremely low. They're not making any money. "I will pay your gas and buy you lunch. Let's go look at properties. It'll help you and it'll help me." And these fresh real estate agents, those are the guys. So you go up the ladder of knowledge, right? You're not going to talk to a real estate agent making millions of dollars a year for free. You got to have some money. They're going to vet you. They want to know, can you buy? But a brand new real estate agent will go out and spend the day showing you properties and evaluating stuff. You can talk to general contractors. You can talk to title companies and real estate attorneys. A lot of times they'll give you a 1-hour consultation. Well, if you stack up, 10 1-hour consultations with real estate attorneys, and, you go on 100 tours with real estate agents, you can get educated at a lower cost and even help them, maybe refer them some business, maybe try to, help them. There's a exchange of value that has to happen. And so for anyone getting into the business, the first thing is buy somebody's audiobook, buy their book. It's a very low cost, $10-$20, and read it. That's my advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to pivot a bit here and ask you about some of the different asset classes that you've been involved in, some of the different deal types. I mean, we've talked a little bit about renos and flips, rental properties, and then you're also involved as a direct lender. Walk me through how that process transpired, really, from going from one asset class and one deal type to another.
Sure. So as you go out and you start to network, then you might say, "All right, well, I just sold this property and I have a bunch of money, but I don't have another deal lined up." So then other people that you view as your peers or as good operators. So in Columbus, Ohio, Terry Summers, he's a solid operator, flips a lot of houses, owns a big portfolio. In South Carolina, Tim Bratz, he's a solid operator, owns a whole lot of multifamily. So that's a good guy. Louisiana, Chris Rude, that guy owns a whole bunch of mobile home parks. and he's a good operator. He's solid, right? So there's different people in these different asset classes. And then you're like, all right, well, I can invest in their deal and kind of learn by investing. So I own 5,000 doors in a Washington, D.C. conglomerate. And somebody's going to be like, wow, this guy is really successful. But if you look at it, you might have invested $100,000 into a $50 million project, and you own 0.006% of, 5,000 doors, right? So sometimes people inflate their numbers to sound cool. And so you really kind of understand if they're the general partner or if they're a limited partner, a GP or an LP. And so that's another thing that kind of comes to play in evaluating your guru, right? You want to understand, is this the right guru for me? Because sometimes they're lying to you through statistics and data, right? If I would say I own 5,000 doors
and you're a limited partner,
you got to kind of go, wait a second, or there's just a lot of things that you got to kind of watch out for. And so books, podcasts, I liked books, and especially audiobooks, better than podcasts. I say podcasts are for poor people because I started listening to Tim Ferriss. He wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. Great book. Get it, read it. But listen to podcasts, I started going, 99 designs. Yeah. And so, like, how much is free information costing me in space in between brain? So I just would buy the audio and then I would listen to that twice or 3 times or whatever. Coach Michael, he's out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's a big guy. He's a bunch of books, really like content. And so you find different people and you're like, all right. So then you pull it all together and make it content. Like, all right, cool. So this is now interesting. I heard one time it said, if you quote only one person in the book, that's plagiarizing. But if you quote like 10, that's called good research. And so what I would encourage everybody to do is understand that there's nothing new under the sun. Just because somebody quotes somebody else, it doesn't, there's because what you got to do is you got to put in all this stuff and kind of make it your own, right? And so
you got to carve your own path. I mean, you mentioned really paying to put yourself in the game and the difference between free versus, paid access. And I agree with you. The things that have really moved the needle for me most in my real estate journey have been things that I've ponied up for. And those, like you said, you do have to vet, you do have to screen, and you could be talking with someone who says they've got 5,000 doors, but they're the LP, and that's a big difference. But in the grand scheme of things, if you want to leapfrog time and really put yourself ahead, you could either do it through the school of hard knocks and bootstrap it yourself, or you could get around people who have already done it. Josh, we are coming up on time here, though. Where can folks go if maybe they're in the Raleigh area and they've got a deal they'd like you to look at, or if they're anywhere and they'd like to reach out to you, get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me at Josh Darville through Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff. JoshDarville.com is my website. It's always under construction, being updated. We also own sellmultifam.com, which was geared more towards us in our growth phase. We're not doing as much there right now, but that's, you gotta kind of put yourself out there in different ways. And if anyone has, wants to talk about one of our books or have us on a different podcast or whatever, just reach out. I'm very, very accessible to anyone who wants to talk about real estate, really, and then we can go from there.
Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.